The college football experience, Ole Miss Rebels 2023 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, brought to you by our very own Patreon. Yes, score exclusive perks and content available only to our patrons at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Check it out. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, what's up, you degenerate gamblers? This is Bill Burr, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, baby.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Ole Miss Rebels 2023 season preview. Hotty toddy. Perhaps you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink, and I don't have stress, and I'm healthy.
We are talking Ole Miss Rebel football. The Lane trade. He once kicked a 78-yard field goal in a game. Great coaching. All right. Lane is 23-13 in 3 years in Oxford, Mississippi. The Grove. We got to get to the Grove and get to a game. Have a few cocktails.
There we go.
Yeah. With Lane, not Brian Kelly and his family, with Lane Kiffin and his family, huh? Here we are. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for the DFS god himself when college football season kicks off. Remember, we'll be doing these DFS episodes. A lot of fun.
We invite you away.
We invite you to come play. So hop on over. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free life giving. Farmer, earned the basketball league MVP. Give it to FC Nick in the place to be.
Yes, sir. There we go.
Let's get it going. Play a little Tecmo Super Bowl. All right. Lane Kiffin making almost $9 million a year. Woo! And I'm curious, what do you make of a of really everything here? He was 5-5 in year one, but you got to remember year one was also the COVID year. So do you put much into that year?
Not really. First year head coach in COVID, you kind of throw that out the window. So, I mean, year two is really where he won 10 games, lost in the Sugar Bowl. Then last year kind of came back down to earth a little bit. I don't think last year they were as talented as 21. So year four, hey, $9 million a year. Is that what you said? That's a lot of money. Yeah. They expect results. I think it'd be nice to see them, kind of get the double-digit wins again, or get close. Maybe win one more game or something. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, he re-upped. I remember he flirted with going to Auburn, I feel like, and it seemed like I think he re-upped or they renegotiated something. I could be talking out of my ass right now, but yeah, you look back at last season, they beat Troy in the first game of the season, which was a very good win considering Troy went on to be very good, but it was also Kane Womack's first year. Wait, no, not Kane Womack. John Summerall's first game ever at Troy. But after that, they cruised to victories, just annihilating Central Arkansas and Georgia Tech. To Tulsa, though, kept it within one score. I mean,
Tulsa wasn't very good last year either.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the Troy win ended up being really good for the resume, but like you look at the wins, the Kentucky win was very, very interesting. That game was very, very. That was a great game to watch, but they
at home they
lost that game
by 3.
Yeah,
sure.
But at the same time, they did beat A&M. I was at that game in College Station. If anything, the score wasn't as close as what. It was really like a 10-point win. Kept it within 6 with Bama. kept it within 2 against, Mike Leach, our friend, in the final game of the regular season, the Egg Bowl. I feel like last year was kind of easy to spot, as far as, by the way, I believe, what was the number last year? Was it 8? Was it flat 8? On the win total?
Man, I don't remember. I know looking at the schedule, in last year in the preseason, we're like, man, they have the easiest start to the schedule ever. And sure enough, they won the first 7 in a row. Now they ended up losing the last 4 and 5 of the last 6. So obviously the strength of schedule ratcheted up the second half of the season, and it proved that Ole Miss just wasn't that good last year. They were slightly above average. Is that fair?
Yeah. They beat Troy. That's the best win on their season.
Or Kentucky,
yeah.
But so they only beat one P5 opponent that had a winning record, and that was that Kentucky game where you could argue they were kind of fortunate to pull that out.
Yeah. Also got smacked in the bowl game in the Tax Act Bowl.
By Texas Tech, correct?
Yeah, by Joey McGuire and Texas Tech. So interesting there, and it's a big year. It's a big year, but very exciting year. I think if you're an Ole Miss Rebel fan,
for sure.
We're going to talk about that because, and well, actually, hang on. Let's talk. We're going to go into the transfer portal, but Lane Kiffin was recently at SEC Media Days, and I thought it was hilarious that he is complaining about the transfer portal.
While also utilizing it more than 90%
anybody.
Of coaches.
Yeah, even at Florida Atlantic, I'm like, why? I don't understand. If they close up the transfer portal, Lane, you're not going to be as good.
Well, I figure I don't know. I don't know if that's true, because I think he can recruit. He can bring in talent in a variety of ways, whether it's traditional through high school or transfer portal. It's kind of ironic that he's complaining about it, because he is definitely using it to his advantage. Look at his roster this year or last year; you can see transfer portal guys up and down it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but I know you've had your problems with Kiffin. I enjoy Kiffin. I think obviously he's a huge personality. I think it's good for the sport. He's fun. He makes games interesting, where Ole Miss, let's face it, they haven't been the most interesting team in the country in years past. They were kind of an average to below average SEC West opponent. He has brought them into the spotlight, at least. That's what he does wherever he's at, for better or for worse.
Strip Club Freeze did it first. Huge Strip Club Freeze brought him into the spotlight. But yes, and I guess I just have problems because, I do think he benefits more than they took Iowa State starting safety a couple weeks before the season last year.
So why are you complaining about it? Sure, I get it. He has to use whatever is the rules of the game, whether you like him or not. So I guess in some regards, I understand what he's saying, that he would prefer that the portal wasn't like this. But if it is like this, then he has to play by the rules of the NCAA. So I guess I kind of hear what he's saying, but it's just funny.
Let me raise you one more here. This is a guy that took the Tennessee coaching job for 1 year and then left for USC.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's going to get on this high horse of players looking for a better opportunity, that's exactly what you did at Tennessee. You were there at Tennessee, signed a big deal, and then a year later, gone. Right?
That's very fair.
When he was at FAU, guess what? He couldn't wait to get the fuck out of town for a better opportunity. I just have issues with. I just look. Mike Leach, longtime friend of the show, rest in peace. And I know he was good friends with Kiffin, so he's probably a great guy. But I'm just saying, what are you complaining about? You get paid $9 million a year. Just shut the fuck up and deal with it. Right?
Yeah. I see your point, definitely. But look, he's won double-digit wins at 3 different schools now. So wherever he goes, he succeeds.
Yeah. I get it. He's probably a hell of a nice guy, but I just thought that point was sour. I was watching that here in studio, and I was like, "What is he talking about?" I'm like,
See,
if there's any,
I'll just let him
school,
rant.
yeah.
Just let him rant and don't hold too much stock in it. It's just he looked drunk. Or stoned.
That was great. That was great. He definitely, he definitely looked like a young Roy Munson.
Right.
You know
so
what I mean?
In the era of so many bland head coaches that aren't willing to say anything and ruffle any feathers, put any billboard material out there. or bulletin board material, at least he will say something whether you agree or disagree with it.
Look, and I like him in that capacity. Like I said, anyone who attempts a 76-yard field goal in a game, I am going to be a fan of. All right. I am going to be a fan of. So, look, we're going to talk about the transfer portal that I'm speaking about in a second here. We're going to talk about the offense, the defense, special teams, and go game by game on the schedule. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Subscribe, tell a friend, cause it is the home for all of our college sports podcasts. Remember, I also host the college basketball experience. Chris Beard in the house in Oxford. When the college basketball season tips, I will be here each and every night of the college basketball season. We already have preseason episodes planned. Just did an off-season check-in episode, so check out that episode. Also, the college baseball experience. Oh, Ole Miss won a national championship just 2 years ago. Me and Noah Beanick talk college baseball there. And don't forget, we now have the FCS college experience and the Big 12 experience. So check out those. We come together as one. This what you're currently listening to is the college football experience. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. So subscribe, tell a friend, and check out all that good stuff. But I want to tell you that the Ole Miss Rebels 2023 season preview episode is brought to you by the sports gambling podcast Patreon. Yes, do your part in the war against corporate gambling and sign up for the SGP Patreon. There's a ton of exclusive content, contests, and merch just for our patrons. Plus a monthly SGP Stories podcast, an ad-free censored show highlighting the best stories from decades of being degens. And, I'm telling you, it's going to be really cool. We're going to release a lot of, whether it's personal stories of gambling or personal stories of hanging out with Mike Leach or other people. I think you're going to dig it. So there's even a Discord channel for the patrons. The Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon is a great way to explore exclusive perks and support SGPN. Once again, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right. We are back on the Ole Miss Rebels 2023 college football season preview. Let's just jump right in because this is going to take a minute. All right. Because
take a drink of water.
Yeah.
Catch your breath.
We'll key in on who's departing first. Departing. Wide receiver Brandon Buckhalter. I don't know if there's any relation to Corey Buckhalter. He's gone. Portal. Defensive lineman Jabron Hawkins is now with Deion Sanders in Colorado. He says, "We coming." Offensive tackle Falentha Carswell. Great name. He's now in Memphis, Tennessee at the Liberty Bowl. Beale Street. Linebacker Danny Lockhart. I don't think any relation to Eugene, but maybe. He's now a Texas A&M Aggie going in division. And that's an interesting side of it too. Is there's been a little feud between Jimbo and Lane lately. I'm on team Lane here. Safety Braxton Myers heads out to the Purdue Boilermakers, as well as cornerback Marcavius Brown to the Purdue Boilermakers. Defensive lineman Taiwan Malone goes to Ohio State. Safety Elijah Sabatini, he's in the portal. Tight end Casey Kelly's now an Oregon Duck, saying quack, quack, quack. Same with Tysheem Johnson at the safety. He goes to Oregon. Cornerback Davison Igbinsuan, he is now at Ohio State as well. So, I guess I see his point on some of these. Wide receiver Jalen Robinson heads out to TCU, but once again, they took Zach Evans from TCU the year before. Quarterback Kinked Dent, great name. He is now at UT Martin with the Skyhawks. Cornerback Kendrick Breedlove is now with Colorado Buffaloes and Deion Sanders. Linebacker Austin Keys to my Beamer Ma is now at Auburn. Brutal. That's these SEC West transfers. Safety Deshaun Jenkins heads out to Don Brown and UMass. Cornerback Miles Battle heads out to Kyle Whittingham in Utah. Defensive end Jerron Willis heads to South Carolina. Offensive tackle Hamilton Hall is at Arkansas State. Defensive lineman Jalen Cunningham's in the portal. Offensive tackle Tobias Braun is in the portal. Running back Isaiah Woolard's in the portal. Cornerback Derek Bermudez is in the portal. Safety MJ Daniels goes to Southern Miss. Offensive tackle Eric Cade goes to Missouri State. Defensive end Damon Clowney is in the portal, or Damon Clowney. I'm sorry. Defensive end Brandon Mack heads to Houston. Running back Kentrell Bullock heads to South Alabama. Quarterback Luke Altmaier, who played some a year ago, goes to the Illinois Fighting Illini. Oh my God. And that's what they lost.
I think they brought in more than they lost. So
yes.
You're not even halfway there.
former Lane Kiffin recruit, probably TJ Young, the safety from Florida Atlantic, comes in to Ole Miss, and then wide receiver Zakhari Franklin, who they just paid up for, one of the best receivers. This was a 4-star transfer get from UTSA, stud for the Roadrunners the past few years. He comes in. Also was able to talk away Matt Jones, the running back, from leaving. Originally entered the portal, was able to talk him back. Defensive lineman Akello Stone from Georgia Tech comes in. They play Georgia Tech. That's always good. Cornerback Justin Hodges from UCF comes into Ole Miss. Was able to talk back DeMarco Williams, also a corner that entered the portal. Cornerback Jaden Kennedy from Tulane. That's a great get. And remember, they also play Tulane. I think that's his philosophy. If we attack the teams on our schedule, they get worse, we get better. Nebraska defensive lineman Stefan Wynn, and he's pretty decent. That was a good get for them. He goes to Ole Miss. JMU, their best defensive player, probably Isaac Ukwu, heads into Ole Miss. Then you have the likes of Georgia Tech cornerback Zamari Walton, a 4-star transfer to Ole Miss. Loading up on the teams you play against is a genius angle.
That's next level, honestly, right there.
Yeah, it really is. Able to talk back a couple other guys. Jamon Gordon, the defensive lineman, flirted with the portal. Same with Ashanti Sistunk. It was in the portal. Cornerback Deshaun Gaddy from North Texas comes in. Linebacker Monty Montgomery. This guy was a stud at Louisville last year. He is now at Ole Miss. Walker Howard, son of Jay Howard, the former LSU quarterback. He was at LSU. Now he transfers in. We're going to talk more about that in a second because, 4-star transfer get for Lane Kiffin and perhaps the starter, a year or two from now. Washington offensive lineman Victor Kroon comes in. Memphis starting tight end, 4-star get here. This guy's a stud with Memphis last year. Caden Prieskorn comes in. Also NC State defensive lineman Joshua Harris. Texas A&M wide receiver Chris Marshall. This was a big time recruit at A&M. Chris Marshall. Louisiana Tech wide receiver Tre Harris. He was a stud at Louisiana Tech last year. Oklahoma State quarterback for 35 years Spencer Sanders. That guy started more games than anyone in college football, I would bet. Now that Bennett's graduated, or I guess he hasn't graduated, but he's in the NFL. Miami, Ohio cornerback John Saunders comes in. And UCF linebacker Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste comes in. Also Texas A&M kicker Caden Davis comes in. Holy shit. I think I got them all, but I could have messed up here. Did they win the portal, NC Nick?
Yes, I think so. If people are still listening after that, yeah, I think they won the portal. The portal taketh and they giveth, or they giveth and they taketh away. So a lot of players coming, a lot of players going, but I think, there was areas of need on this roster, and I think he did a good job filling them. Look at the DBs is crazy. They brought in 6 new cornerbacks. They got like 4 or 5 guys leaving. Good luck trying to figure out who's going to start, and if the offense is going to be better than last year or the defense is going to be better than last year. So a lot of moving pieces. You wonder how long it's going to take Lane to put them together. Overall, I would say more talent enters than departs. So give him the W.
For sure. To me, like getting Franklin and some of those defensive guys, the linebacker from they loaded up, man.
Yeah,
they loaded up. They would say they certainly won it to me, but
yeah,
can you coach it and can it be cohesive that fast? I think is the big question.
And let's just say, not talk too much schedule yet, but Alabama and LSU are on the schedule in September.
Yeah, so cohesiveness gonna play a key role. Let's talk about the offense because a year ago, remember they had lost Jeff Lebby to Oklahoma, and then Charlie Weiss Jr. Came in, and
did he have a decided schematic advantage also? I love making fun of his dad for saying that arrogant prick.
John David Baker also, right? Co OC with everyone's doing it these days. So the quarterback room, Jaxson Dart is the penciled in starter, which is crazy to think because Spencer Sanders has started like 1,000 games. Then you have Walker Howard, who is really highly recruited, right? So my problem here is that I expect one of the, like, if Spencer Sanders not named the starter by week 1, or not even week 1, if he's getting the feel 2 weeks before the season, he could bounce again.
Sure, because he's a grad.
Yeah,
right?
He could bounce again, and I'm pretty sure a lot of teams.
What's your opinion on Jaxson Dart in general? Like his stats last year were pretty good. He threw for 3K, 20 touchdowns, 11 picks. His completion percentage was north of 60%. He ran for over 600 yards. He never, I mean, he had some good games, but he never completely impressed me that much.
Sure. And he was just a sophomore though. So there's that, but yeah, I mean, I would assume Sanders would start, but I guess not. And once again,
everything we're hearing is that Dart is starting, but I kind of agree with you. Like, I'm a Spencer Sanders guy. You know, I mean, 2 years ago, he was very close to having inches away from having Oklahoma State in the college football playoffs.
And I don't think Spencer Sanders wants to be a backup this year. This is like his 35th year of college
football. I don't think so. I mean,
yeah,
maybe he's just cashing a nice paycheck coming to Ole Miss, but yes, I would assume he wants to play.
Well, the best part about this is he can cash that check and still transfer out because there are no fucking rules in college football. So good luck there. But no, I mean, you look around at other situations and teams. I mean, we just saw Alabama go for Buckner from Notre Dame, and we could rattle off a certain amount of schools that would easily take Spencer Sanders right now.
For sure. Well, I mean, they're loaded at the quarterback position. This is probably one of the best quarterback rooms in the country with 3 potential, starter worthy guys. So it'll be interesting if Dart gets the job on day 1 and if he can hold on to it, because with those kind of guys behind him, if everyone stays, a bad game or two, and maybe we'll see Sanders or Altmaier, not Altmaier,
leave or Walker Howard. Yeah.
Walker Howard, Altmaier left. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, I was just like looking on my screen right now of Kiffin calls himself the Portal King. That's another thing. Back to my comment before. Why are you complaining if you're the Portal King? Anyway, the quarterback situation is pretty good. We'll monitor that scenario. Obviously, we will break news if anything happens there. They have the best running back in the nation, perhaps, in Quinshon Judkins. This guy's a fucking stud. I was at the A&M game, and man, when you watch him in person, you're even more impressed. You're like, this guy's an NFL running back.
I don't think there's any perhaps about it. I think he is the best. He did all that last year as a true freshman. You forget Zach Evans, the former 5-star transfer in from TCU, and Zach Evans is on the Rams now. He's a very good running back. He almost ran for 1,000 yards last year also. But I think Zach Evans thought that he was going to be the top dog, bell cow, and then no, this true freshman Judkins comes in, and man, the dude's a beast. Best running back in the country, hands down.
And they also have Ulysses Bentley, who started at SMU. To back him up. So you got to like the depth there. Receiver wise, Jordan Watkins is back. They bring in Zakhari Franklin. They also have Dayton Wade, but Tre Harris comes in also. So they get Franklin and Harris from the portal, studs. Their tight end their tight end room is fantastic too. Bringing in Prieskorn from Memphis, all AAC first team tight end. And then Michael Trigg, don't forget the USC transfer. This team is loaded at the skill positions.
All new faces there. I mean, last year, like Malik Heath caught over 900 yards, and Jonathan Mingo, who's a Carolina Panther now, was over 800. But I don't know. I felt like their receivers were a lot better 2 years ago. I felt like the playmakers on the outside were better 2 years ago. Hopefully, with these new guys coming in for Ole Miss fans, they can get back to 2 years ago, because I thought the passing attack suffered a little bit last year.
True. And so Caleb Warren is back on the offensive line at the center spot. They also have Jeremy James back, and then they get Victor Kern from Washington, who's penciled to be a starter. They're basically bringing back 4 of 5. Jaden Williams, the left tackle, was very good. a season ago. And the right tackle is Michael Pettis. So this team is good, man.
Oh,
like
that
this,
offensive line is potential
yeah.
top 10 unit in the country. I think our guy Phil Steele has him ranked 6th best in the country as far as offensive line. So there's a lot to like about the offense for sure.
For sure. And make sure we got Phil Steele penciled in on the show this week. So make sure you check out that episode. Yeah, I mean, I actually think the offense is going to be better than a season ago. I know they lose Zach Evans. I know they lose those, a couple of wideouts, but I actually think this offense with the offensive line stepping forward and then Judkins back
and quarterback Dart, his second year starting, or Sanders. I agree. I think the offense can be better. Should be better.
They are breaking in a new kicker. They get the A&M transfer Caden Davis coming in. Something to monitor if it's close games. Defensively, 56 scoring defense a year ago. 89th in run defense. Woo! 54th in pass defense, charting at 74th in total defense. That's just crazy to me because it's not like they played a triple option team. They didn't play Georgia or anything like. Man, 89th in run defense. They got to work on that. And they get Pete Golding to come over from Alabama. He was the defensive coordinator under Nick Saban. So that's a nice get. Obviously, knew each other from their time together in Tuscaloosa.
And he's also changing the defense to a 3-4.
Yeah. So, wow. I mean, I'm just curious what you make of the defense side. So, I mean, they're going to be. We'll get into the players here because they bring back 7. All right, they bring back 7. And they bring in a shit ton of transfers. So there's this. Cedric Johnson is back. They also have Jaden Ivey, the Georgia Tech transfer on the defensive line. Also, JJ Pagoose, Stephon Wynn. I like the depth there on the defensive side of the ball. Joshua Harris comes in from NC State at the nose tackle spot. That's one to monitor. And also Ukwu, the JMU transfer. Man, I mean the linebacking core. Monty Montgomery was a stud get. They brought in guys, man. They brought in guys.
Gene Baptiste from UCF at linebacker also. And then DBs, I mentioned all the cornerbacks they brought in, including the guy John Saunders. Shout out to the John Saunders we know from Miami of Ohio and Walton from Georgia Tech. They might be the starters. It's tough to say because this defense side of the ball, there's going to be I mean, they brought back 7 starters, but there's a ton of new guys too. So I think chances are they'll probably be better. Now,
I do too.
New coordinator also. I mean, we'll see how the new coordinator does, but he's done well in the past at his other stops, including Alabama. So I think you're going to see improvement.
Yeah, they still have Isheem Young, the Iowa State transfer at the strong safety spot. They bring back just a ton. Tennyson coming in from Auburn. I really think you're right. The defense will be better. They bring back their punter Frazier Mason. Such a great punter name. I mean, they got to be better. They got to be better, right? So we're going to talk about it. We're going to go game by game on the schedule because the roster is better than a season ago, in my opinion. But before we do all that, I want to tell you that the Ole Miss Rebels 2023 season previews brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, the NFL season is right around the corner, and Underdog Pick'em is a great way to get down on a ton of NFL player props. And look, it's available in a ton of different markets, so check it out. Plus, there's plenty of opportunities to win in their daily MLB contest. And of course, make sure to enter the Best Ball Mania, where first place gets only $1 million. All right, head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Once again, that's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. All right, here we are. Back on the college football experience. If you're watching on YouTube, you see this sweet graphic. It is done by Cam Curry. He might be a Texas A&M grad, but you can feel free to tweet him talking shit. But he did a good job here. The win total 7.5. Are you surprised at that win total just off the top of your head, NC Nick?
Not really. They won 8 games last year. A little low. So I think my initial lean was I kind of like the over here. Now, granted, I don't think the schedule is quite as easy as last year. It's not too much more difficult, but it's more difficult than last year. But I think that the roster is more talented and more experienced. So I guess I think 8 or 8.5 probably would have been my guess if I was trying to guess the line. So initial lean would be over.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's hop into it because it's going to be a fun season here. Week 1, the Mercer Bears of the FCS come to town. Yeah, they played way back in 1911. That was great. But yeah, okay, 1-0, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, one of the more interesting non-con games is they head to New Orleans to Yulman Stadium, take on Tulane and Willie Fritz.
It's a fun one.
I still think Ole Miss is going to beat them. You?
I think here's where you see one of the better offensive lines in the SEC, if not the country, and the best running back. I think that's tough for a G5 opponent to deal with. So yes.
Tulane got kind of hit in the portal too. I thought they took some hits in the portal. Week 3, Georgia Tech and Brent Key comes to town. This was 42-0. This was 42-0 a year ago. It's crazy. I mean, I remember Georgia Tech winning national championships in the 90s and Ole Miss being ass, and now it's vice versa. Well, not national championships, but Ole Miss putting together winning seasons. And they used to play in the SEC together. Georgia Tech, remember, left the SEC, so that's a fun one. 3-0, and then they head to Tuscaloosa on September 23rd. Any chance you're going to take the Rebels in Tuscaloosa, NC Nick?
You know, if this is a year, I mean, if any year to get Alabama at home, it might be this year with everybody new on Bama's side, including a new quarterback, whoever that turns out to be. But I'm still going to take Saban at home here.
I agree. 3-1, and unfortunately, they got Brian Kelly and his family coming the very next week.
Brutal stretch here. Back to back. I mean, these are like two potential top 5 teams in the country back to back. At least one's at home.
And remember, this year they draw Georgia. They play Georgia like once every 35 years in the SEC because of the 7-game schedule. But I got them losing. I got them 3-2. I got LSU getting them. There's that record of teams that play Bama in the next week. They're terrible. Right. So I'll buy into it. Then they host the Arkansas Razorbacks. This is a winnable game here. I think they get this one.
I think it's almost an insult to say it's winnable. I think Ole Miss is going to be favored probably by a touchdown. So Ole Miss.
I think more like 4 or 5, but give me Ole Miss to get that done. That puts them at 4-2 heading into the bye. You got them at 4-2 as well.
Yes, sir.
Now it gets interesting. You got the reunion. Hugh Strip Club Freeze is hosting his old employer, Ole Miss, coming into the Plains to take on the Auburn Tigers. Man, this is where it gets tricky.
I kind of want to give it to Auburn.
Tricky.
I kind of want to give it to Auburn. I mean, Ole Miss has the better roster right now, but it's a rivalry obviously because they play every year as SEC West opponents, and at Auburn is always tough. Yeah, and I think they may be a little bit better this year than expected. I'm gonna ride with you. Hopefully, we don't agree on everything else on this whole schedule, but chalk it up as a loss.
Well, they're 4-3, and now they host Vanderbilt, which they get every year, which is always a blessing. But Vanderbilt's not terrible this year. I still think they get this done 5-3,
especially at home. Yeah,
the win total 7.5, folks. Now the big one, November 4th, Texas A&M. Bobby Petrino, aka Road Rash Face, coming into town. Man, Texas A&M is a complete wild card in this college football season. I could see them winning the national championship. I could also see them going 4-8.
Ole Miss won this game at A&M. You were at it a year ago. They won by 3. If I'm saying Ole Miss is going to lose at Auburn, then I'm going to give them this game and say they win it.
I'll join you. I don't feel great about this one though, man, but I'll join you. So that puts me at what? That puts me at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3.
Yep.
And now they head at Georgia. You gotta hate the fact they get Bama and LSU back to back, and A&M and Georgia back to back. So there's like the four most talented teams on your schedule from a recruiting standpoint. I got them losing this. What do you got happening there between the hedges in Sanford Stadium?
Yeah, I'm afraid we might end up with the same overall record here, but I can't say they're going to go win at Georgia. So give me an L. 6-4. Is that right?
6-4. And then ULM, Terry Bowden. Never fade a Bowden a big game, says Patty C. This will win 7-4.
Obviously.
and then the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving. Oh man,
it's at Mississippi State this year. Does that matter?
Oh man, yeah, it does. I mean, these games are always wild. These games are always wild as shit.
There's so many question marks with Mississippi State. You can't have them winning this. I mean, they won last year at Ole Miss. I think revenge. Ole Miss gets it on the road this year. They go to 8-4 in the over.
Nope.
Wow.
I just think I'm giving them too many fringe games. I gave them Tulane. I gave them Arkansas. I gave them A&M. I'm going to give them Mississippi State. They're going to lose one of those. They're going to lose one of those.
Well, you had them losing to Auburn too. I disagree. 8-4 over. I think Ole Miss is clearly the better team than Mississippi State, and we have no idea the coaching for Mississippi State.
Throw out the record books in this.
Fair enough.
Rivalry games.
Maybe the ghost of Mike Leach can lend a hand to Stark Vegas there, but I gotta go Ole Miss, man, and give me the over.
Oh man, I mean, look, I'm not even saying it's going to be the Mississippi State game, but I'm assuming between that and A&M, they're going to lose one of those November games. 7-5. Even though I think this team's better, I think the schedule's harder this year because they get Georgia from the other side of the division, and also at Tulane.
Right.
And I also think Georgia Tech's going to be a little bit better this year than they were a season ago.
Yeah, that probably won't matter though.
Still, it means the schedule's harder. All right, I'm on the under. I don't know. Portal King. Maybe I'll be wrong. All right, folks. Before we get out of here, I had a chance to sit down with College Football Campus Tour regarding his time down there in Oxford, Mississippi. With no further, and if you haven't checked out Michael Barker's page, you need to because it's fantastic. But anyway, here's that interview I had the honor of doing with interviewing Michael Barker here. So with no further ado, joining me on the College Football Experience Ole Miss Rebels 2023 season preview is none other than Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour. You might be wondering who is college football? Just get yourself on over to Twitter and check out the page at CFB Campus Tour because Michael is a must follow if you love college football. He goes to all the stadiums. Every single FBS stadium, most of the FCS, probably some D2, D3, NAIA stuff as well. And he documents all of it on his. He'll go to like 5-6 games a week, folks, and he documents all of it. It is fantastic. He's got the photo of the game and everything. It's just a must follow if you love college football. Michael, I appreciate you hopping on the show to talk a little Vaught-Hemmingway Stadium and Ole Miss football.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Can't wait for the season. We got 6 games week 1, but until then, let's talk about some great SEC stadiums like the Vaught.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love this one. Tell me about I just love the fact that for the most part, I think in the SEC, all their stadiums are right around the 100-year mark. Correct?
Most of them, yeah. The only one that's built post 1940 is Kentucky. Otherwise, all of them were built before 1940.
Absolutely fantastic. And look, I've never been here. I have always been told to get to the stadium. Patty C, my co-host, who's normally with me, his brother went to Ole Miss, and he's like, "You gotta go. You gotta go. The tailgating, the whole experience, fantastic." So tell me about. Well, first, tell me about the history of Vaught-Hemmingway.
Yeah, so it was built in 1915. So, like you said, over 100 years. Originally, it started with 24,000 seats. Now it has 64,000 seats. It's named after Judge William Hemingway and former coach Johnny Vaught. It's the site of the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving every other year, the rivalry with Mississippi State. The biggest crowd they ever had was in 2016 versus Alabama, 66,176. And you mentioned it, the world famous tailgating at the Grove. It's something that all college football fans should go to, and hopefully you don't get too trashed to not make it into the stadium, but it's worth the price of admission just for the tailgating.
Yeah, I mean, it's always seemed pretty cool, but they're one of these schools that I know they have a great history, but they also, from the years I started getting into college football, which was the early 90s, they weren't great for a while, and really they've been, since the SEC networks came about, they've found their way into being pretty successful now, and I can only imagine that helps increase the buzz around town about the Ole Miss Rebels football. How many times have you been there?
So I've been there twice. One was in 2018 and one was last year. 2018 game, it was against Alabama. They threw a touchdown in the third play of the game to DJ Metcalf and then gave up, I want to say, like 59 straight points. So that was a rough one. But last year I went to the Egg Bowl, and it was Lane Kiffin versus Mike Leach in his last game as a college football coach. It was a great game. Mississippi State pulled it out 24-22. Unfortunately, we lost Coach Leach in the offseason. I know he's a friend of the show, and it always will stick in my memory, that game. I made a point to go to these Egg Bowls every year. COVID hit. I went to the 2019 one, and some things went down in that game. They got all the coaches fired, and a couple of years later to be back at the Vaught with Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach, it was just showed how much progress had been made with both programs. So that one will always stick in my memory.
Yeah, and I know Lane would probably tell you, I know he'd probably upset you lose the game, but Lane's good friends with Mike Leach, and we were too. And, that if he had to lose one game, that would be the one, knowing that it would be the final game of Mike Leach. May he rest in peace, legendary coach. But yeah, so how was the fan turnout, though? And obviously Egg Bowl to me is like, describing college football to someone that doesn't know college football, one of the things I would recommend would be like, watch the Egg Bowl, because that I love that rivalry. It's one of I think the most underrated rivalries from a national standpoint. How was that experience?
It was great. I went to the 2019 one. It was at Starkville, Mississippi State. I walked in, and it took me about a quarter to adjust to the bells going off the whole time, the cowbells. And the environment was unbelievable. And fast forward a couple of years later to get into Oxford, which is just a college football town. That's what it is. And, there's other things to do, but it's all centered around Ole Miss football. And, from the start of the game, there was a light show, spelled out Ole Miss in cursive on the field, sold out. A lot of schools there on break. The students are going to get home. There was a huge crowd there. And, there's a lot on the line because Ole Miss, they had a good record, and so did Mississippi State. You win that one, you get a more prestigious bowl game. So I made a rule that I'm never having Thanksgiving dinner with my family ever again, and that I will be at the Egg Bowl. And if they want to have turkey the day before I leave or when I get back, that's fine. But this, like you said, this is a college football tradition. We know the NFL does. Detroit Lions, nobody wants to watch that. They put the Cowboys on against a terrible opponent. This is Thanksgiving football, and it's been going on for a long time. So I recommend everybody get to the Egg Bowl, especially in Oxford.
Amen, man. Yeah, you can have the Lions game, or that they put both games that are in domes, so you don't even get it's Thanksgiving. Football is supposed to be played outdoors. That's why you watch the Egg Bowl and you get passion, true fan passion. It's unbelievable. I got to get to a game with you, and I love, folks. Is that not a strong enough selling point right there? Like, I don't have to promote him anymore. He's like, I told my family, look, it's been fun on Thanksgiving, but I'm going to be at the Egg Bowl. That's why you should follow College Football Campus Tour, aka Michael Barker. The Twitter account, I don't know if you're watching on YouTube, folks, youtube.com/the college experience. But if you're just listening to this from an audio standpoint, it's at CFB Campus Tour. Hop on over to Twitter, give him a follow, because he does great work. And obviously right there, the passion, mom, dad, whoever, look, Thanksgiving. Yeah, we could celebrate it on Wednesday. Cause I know Friday there's more college football games, which you'll probably be at if you know Michael. Michael, I appreciate you hopping on the show, man. And maybe one day we can catch a game at Vaught-Hemmingway.
Absolutely. And just a quick little note, 2019, I had my brother come with me. We did Thursday night Egg Bowl, Friday night Virginia, Saturday Western Kentucky, slept like 4 hours, and he's never come on a trip with me since then. So so that just solves that right there.
Folks, follow him. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying to follow my account, folks. I'm just a schmuck over here. All right. Michael is doing it's just the coolest page. I didn't know Michael before Twitter algorithm hooked me up, and I was like, who is this fucking maniac? He is fantastic. And that is Michael Barker. So Michael, I appreciate you hopping on the show, brother.
Absolutely, Colby. Thank you.
Michael Barker, love that. You gotta love the fact you're telling family, hey, you know what? The Egg Bowl is more important.
That's a great line. I love that, man. That's awesome.
Oh man, we got to get down there for an Egg Bowl
for sure.
I know you're on the over. Is this something you could be saying maybe in August on the Locks episode?
You know, I like it. I'm not. It might not make the lock episode. I mean, that's pretty lofty ground right there. But I feel pretty good about the over on this. Let's go Ole Miss.
There we go. Hottie toddy. NC Nick says I'm on the under, but I don't feel very good about this at all. I think Ole Miss could be. I think they could be like a 9-3 team, 10-2 team at best case scenario. No, probably 9-3 actually. Best case scenario, I think 9-3.
What's worst case? 6-6. There's no way they don't go 6-6. I mean,
hold on. Let me just paint this. So if they lose to Tulane on the second week of college football season, that's 1 loss. Bama 2, LSU 3, Auburn 4, A&M 5, Georgia 6, Mississippi State 7. I think the floor is 5-7.
Yeah, but come on. I mean, this roster is not losing all those games.
I know, but still, I mean, I didn't even say Arkansas. Arkansas is capable of beating them.
I suppose.
You know, that's the SEC West. There's a big difference between the SEC West and the SEC East, especially when you draw Georgia as the team on the other side. So it's going to be great to watch. I'm on the under. NC Nick's on the over. Folks, subscribe to the College Football Experience. Remember, wherever podcasts can be found, the College Football Experience, the College Basketball Experience, the FCS College Football Experience, the Big 12 Experience, the College Baseball Experience. We're all there for you. Check it out. Subscribe. Tell a friend. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. And make sure you check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. They're already doing their NFL team previews, all 32 teams. I know you're in Mississippi. I don't know if you root for the Saints or the Falcons, but check them out. They got you covered. And get the SGPN app. It's free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. Also, check out our Discord. Maybe you're sitting there and you want to talk Ole Miss, whatever, baseball, football, basketball, hop in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. And remember also that we pretty much talk about every single sport in the world there. So if you want to know who's going to win.
Perhaps they're USFL fans.
Yes, that's true. We got that covered in there too.
Can they root for Birmingham just due to close proximity, or is the fact that Birmingham's in Alabama, does that prohibit them from that?
But do they do New Orleans Breakers? Because that would be tricky too, because
it's true.
Yeah, a lot of enemy territory there. Look, check out the USFL Gambling Podcast too. So look, we got stuff covered. Just hop in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. All right, folks, can't wait for the season. This is the College Football Experience, Ole Miss Rebel style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know